Hey, this is going to be a little, kind of a quick, just a shop tip I want to talk to you about. Maybe I should make a shop tip on cleaning my glasses. But my shop tip is more about grinders. And there's some stuff I want to kind of go over. I used to have I use these, I do a lot of grinding. I use these big 9-inch. I had a Milwaukee for 30 years. And somebody, when they stole all my stuff out of my shop, they stole it. And I picked this one up used. It looked just like this because I haven't used it much. It's all beat up, but it came from a welding shop, and it's a Black & Decker. And also when I'm buying the stuff at the welding shop, it was when they were closing up. The owner of it was in his 80s and it was getting ill health. And nice guy and everything, really good welding shop in the area, but they just sold out everything. He just got rid of the business. Anyway, this was in his shop along with some other stuff I got. And got a whole bunch of the discs here. And what they use, which are a pretty good brand, is these, how do you pronounce them? Preferred, P-F-E-R-D. I don't know if you call it Ferd or Preferred. I have no idea. But they're pretty good discs. When it comes to grinding discs, please take my word. I don't do a whole lot of grinding nowadays, but I used a 9-inch grinder like this all day long for years, and started out fixing sinkholes. And we used to drive in 3-inch well casing pipe, heavy wall pipe, and we used to sit there and just put bevels on because we take 5 and 10 foot pieces, and we'd drive one piece in, put another piece on, and we'd weld around it. Drive that piece in, put another piece on, so we'd have to bevel it off once it got in the ground, and then before we got started we had a bunch of them beveled, and usually that was me. I was beveling it, because most of the time I was on the shop, I was by myself. So I'd be grinding, beveling, welding, using a rock drill to pound in the steel pipe, all that stuff. But one thing I learned the hard way, but I didn't get hurt, is, let me show you, when you're using a grinder, whether it's this size or smaller, doesn't matter, and you're using it, be careful with the edges of them and what face you use, the edges, stuff like this. Now this is a regular grinding disc, and you just want to use it right through here. It's not a cut-off disc, but you can cut in some. But I have had cheaper grinding discs, and I have ate a whole lot of this fiber that's around the edges there. It would just fly off continuously because they're just cheap grinding discs. So that's why I say don't get cheap grinding discs. But let me move this back. This is a small pipe. I used to do 3-inch pipe, but to give you an idea, a piece of pipe. Let me come around here. Yeah, I'll do it this way. When you're beveling pipe to weld it, you just come in, you set it at the angle that you want, whatever angle you want, if you want a 45-degree bevel, and you just work it back and forth. You're just grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding. Then you pivot the thing around and you grind and you grind and you grind until you get, basically you're going to leave a little bit of a thickness at the bottom, maybe 1/16 of an inch or something. Grind, say at about a 45-degree angle. We're just eyeballing it. This wasn't a welding test. And you just kept doing a bunch of grinding like that. And this is where my tip comes in. That's just a lot of work, but what I was doing when I was doing those things is I was grinding right around through here, usually in this area. And I just kept grinding and grinding, putting that bevel on, until finally I almost ground this through without realizing it. This would have been a huge ring that would have just snapped off and went flying like a death frisbee. Because these things spin at I forgot, was it 9 or 10,000 RPM or something? Man, you couldn't read that if you wanted to. Anyway, it don't want to be doing that. Make sure if you do that, that you're moving back and forth here as well. And then every now and then just swap them out. Go use this for flat work for a while so that it gets kind of caught up and flatten it out. Or just throw them away. If they get too far and they got a big bevel in there, like I've had, I just threw them away and got another one. You don't want to take a chance. Just too fast. And as you can see, just like this, that's the way it was back in those days. I also don't recommend is not having a guard. This one didn't have a guard when I got it, because this is the way you're going to find them in almost every welding shop or on the jobs we were on, because we were grinding so many places we couldn't sit there and be moving around. And back in those days, and probably with this one, you had to stop, unscrew a bolt or unscrew a screw that was in a nut kind of a thing, or undo a bolt or something, pivot it around, tighten it back up. Now they're a little bit easier, the newer stuff, and they'll do the job easier. Now this was my newest replacement when they stole my grinders. This is actually, I got a 4.5 inch disc, but this is a 5-inch Milwaukee, and it's a nice grinder. Got a paddle thing on it, which I like when I got heavy gloves on. I don't have to, I almost would rather not have this, but you need it. But I like it because you can squeeze that around and then rotate it. It's hard to do, to keep it in camera. But you can rotate it around however you want, and it locks in place. So, and just depending how you want to use it. And as you can see, I left it on there because it came with it. But even though I know they're dangerous, if they're inconvenient, I won't use them. The guards, I mean. So, these are I'd consider my good grinders. But I had that smaller one, and I was tired of always, I kept having to, if I was doing regular grinding, I'd put regular grinding disc on. If I was wanting to cut off, then I had to unscrew it, put a cutoff wheel. If I wanted to wire brush, unscrew it, put a wire brush. Unscrew it, put a flap wheel. Unscrew it, put a grinder back. So, if you're in a business, you know, you're going to want better equipment. But if you're like me and you're a hobbyist, or you're just doing, you know, part-time, anything, this stuff, as cheap as it is not bad. I got these Harbor Freights. At the time, they were on an extra big sale. It was like $9.99 a piece for these. You don't want to take them on a heavy job or something. They're just not meant for that. I can literally stop the blade with them if I push too hard on them. But just for cutting, I could have cut up. I got my diamond cutoff wheel on one, and I'm thinking about getting a few more. I got a flat disc on one, and then I'd like to get me another one, because I'm still having to swap out for my wire brush. But it's a lot handier when you're like in a production mode and you're going, just grab a grinder, do it with the head on it you want, do it. Do your next thing. If you want to cut off, grab that. If you can afford to buy, you know, better quality, I'd always recommend that. Because like I said, I can stop these just by pressing on them real hard. But if I don't, and just take my time and just use them, you know, especially for wire brushing, they're fine. And for the flat wheel, they seem to be fine. For regular hard grinding, I'd rather just get one of my better one here, just because when I'm grinding, I want to get rid of the stuff fast, because I don't want to sit there all day. And if I got that grinder out, I'm wanting to move. So that's some of my tips. Watch if you're beveling, that you don't cut into your wheel and with a big groove, because I've done it. And you know, pick you up some extra ones like these on sale. Catch them end of the year. You don't have to be in a hurry or nothing. Just when you see them, and they got one of their, you know, sales for their $15, then you can get an extra 20, 30, 40% off at Harbor Freight, or Northern Tools has some sales occasionally. I would probably prefer to go up to the next level than the $10 to $20 ones. If I get some more, I'll probably go up to the, I don't know what they are, $30 or $40 range, just to have them on hand. Because like I said, these are pretty lightweight, and these don't have the nice guards that you can do it. You have to unscrew it, and then they start working loose because they're cheap. and the guards start wobbling, and so I just had to take the guards off, whether I wanted to or not. I just couldn't keep fighting with them. So yeah, they're without guards, which isn't good. That's it, and watch your surrounding area. I catch stuff up on fire if I'm in the shop because I got so much wood in here. So if you're an all metalworking shop, you're fine, but dirt floors and stuff. And of course, I got a concrete floor, but I got a lot of sawdust around here, and so that causes issues. Anyway, that's just a tip. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something from it, and hope you have a blessed day. Y'all have a good one. Bye-bye.